Chapter 1433, Leaving Void after the rain stopped, the sun came out again. The poisonous bees collected from the elusive forest were happily shuttled among the flowers. Then, after pollination, the flowers begin to wither and produce juicy fruit. He was dumbfounded watching this scene, even the little ones were jaw-dropping. Even little Red Bird, who seemed contemptuous just now, couldn't help but widened his eyes, making continuous chirps. Although he learned about the God-level planting array from the inherited memory, he never expected it to be so miraculous. In the end, the fruits and ripe herbs were collected into Ling Shao Palace and placed in different categories. The array emitting green light finally lost its radiance and became gray as before. He took a deep breath. The wood's spiritual power formed by her circle of life could only sustain one round of plant harvesting at most, but this round alone had left her dumbfounded. If circle of life is practiced to the extreme in the future, wouldn't I be able to get thousands of spiritual plants every day? Moreover, the spiritual plants are high quality. She swallowed and forgot this wonderful future. She walked up to Shao Qi, handed over the circle of life to him, and said, "Only people with the wood spiritual root can practice this method. Shao Qi, would you like to try it?" In Shao Qi's case, his dantian was completely wasted, so he was unable to cultivate. But He always felt that this set of circle of life was different. Shao Qi had such a strong wood spiritual power in his body. If he practices this set of circle of life, would he regain the chance to cultivate? Shao Qi took the techniques with a pure smile, leaned close to He, and rubbed against her neck. He touched his soft hair, and she smiled faintly. After practicing circle of life, He tried to leave the void again. This time, she finally succeeded. However, as soon as she left the void and opened her eyes, she heard a cry as if the sky was falling. King, please don't die. We can't live without you. Dr. Taper, aren't you the best doctor among us? Think of a way to save the king. What's the situation? He frowned and looked at the source of the sound. Why does it sound like someone's parent is dead? Boss, you're finally awake. Little Golden Dragon's joyful voice came. She looked around, and all she saw were ruins. She could still smell the smell of burning and blood. And it was a group of beastkin who cried bitterly. With Heshi's eyesight, she could tell at a glance that this was a group of beastkins. Not only because of the beastkin aura emanating from them, but also the obvious beastkin characteristics such as claws, scales, and horns. This group of beastkins was surrounding a man in a red robe, weeping loudly. Their faces were full of despair and sadness. A beastkin who looked like a middle-aged old man was anxiously treating the man in a red robe. As for the man in a red robe, his was in a very bad situation. His face was covered with blood, and his face was covered with light blue scales, but most of these scales were burnt. He scanned roughly with divine sense, and she found that the beastkin's body seemed to be burning with raging flames. The overbearing level of the flames could almost rival the cold poison in Nangong Yu's body. If this burning continued for a few moments, the beastkin's internal organs and soul would be burned completely. It would result in a miserable end. Chapter 1434, Retarded, Boss, that's the demi-divine beast, the beastkin at the peak of rank 11. Little Golden Dragon whispered in her ear. How did the peak of rank 11 beastkin end up like this? He raised her eyebrows in surprise and asked with her eyes. A trace of anger appeared in the little Golden Dragon's eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, "Boss, you forgot that in the confinement space, there was originally a teleportation array that was going to send you and the King of Hell out, but that bastard Tong Bing suddenly threw something into the teleportation array. It turned out that the thing was the notorious Sanskrit voodoo elusive silk. Most of the Beastkin King's Beastkin aura was sealed. In order to fight against Golden Wolf and the others, Beastkin King had to forcibly activate the Jade Fire Toad, so now that he is backlashed by the flames of Jade Fire Toad, I think he probably can't survive. What a pity! He has cultivated to demi-divine beast." He was startled, and she slightly raised her voice. Then Jade Fire Toad, I remember that it is recorded in the record of everything that Jade Fire Toad is the remnant soul of the fire attribute toad beastkin after it failed to survive the tribulation. That had to be at least rank 11. Moreover, to be able to form a remnant soul, it must be at least rank 12. For the remnant soul to be called the real Jade Fire Toad, it needs to be nourished at the junction of yin and yang for thousands of years. In the end, it will become a living spiritual body. As long as Nangong Yu carries it with him all the time, at least for a short period of time, the cold poison will not attack again. But according to Little Egg, this Jade Fire Toad is just a remnant soul, and it has not been nourished by the extreme yin qi. It can be used as a magic weapon to launch powerful attacks, or it can be swallowed as a great tonic, but whether it is attacking or swallowing, it is only one time. Such Jade Fire Toad was actually not the most ideal treatment plan for Heshi. But Jade Fire Toad was too rare, and Nangong Yu's illness couldn't be delayed any longer, so no matter how dangerous the Jade Fire Toad was that had not been nourished, Heshi had to try it. Little Golden Dragon hurriedly said, "Boss, don't worry, King of Hell has already got the Jade Fire Toad, and the extreme yang flame inside has not been exhausted." Heshi breathed a sigh of relief. She was about to ask Little Golden Dragon where did Nangong Yu go, then the Beastkins suddenly shouted, "It was you. It was you humans who killed the king. I will kill you. I will die with you." Feng Wan's eyes were red. He stared at Heshi with hatred and rushed toward her recklessly. Little Golden Dragon cursed with an ugly face, "Damn, are you retarded? Go and look for those who harmed you guys. What does it have to do with us?" Heshi's mouth twitched. She reaffirmed that Little Golden Dragon, who had been with Little Egg for a long time, was really good at cursing. Feng Wan didn't seem to hear it at all. He had lost all reason. His paws, that were stained with blood, swiped toward Heshi fiercely. Heshi just swayed her body lightly to easily dodge the attack. Feng Wan roared angrily, and he still continued to rush toward her. "Since you want to die, then I will fulfill you." Little Golden Dragon let out a cold snort. His figure suddenly grew bigger. A ball of red flame shot out from his mouth toward Feng Wan. At the moment Heshi advanced, several little ones had also undergone obvious changes. Little Golden Dragon had directly advanced to rank 6. The rank 6 of Little Golden Dragon was not at the same level as the rank 6 of the magical beast. As soon as the flame shot out, the beastkins at the side immediately felt threatened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1435. Suffer for Eternity. That was the coercion of the Golden Flying Dragon, a powerhouse above most creatures. Even if he had not advanced to the level of being able to transform, it was not something that ordinary beastkin could match. "Don't!" A clear and anxious girl's voice came from not far away. Then a yellow Yumin bird flew over at lightning speed. It turned into a young girl and stood in front of Feng Wan, begging anxiously, "Don't kill brother Feng Wan, please." Seeing that the flame was about to engulf the girl, the beastkins on the side exclaimed, "Li Yu!" Li Yu closed her eyes in fear, and her small body trembled. However, the expected pain did not come. Heshi just waved her hand lightly, and the flame was blown aside by a gust of wind and hit a broken wall. Li Yu opened her eyes filled with tears, looked at Shiyu and said lowly, "Thank you, Shiyu." "Li Yu, why are you stopping me? If it weren't for these hateful humans, how could King be in this state? I want to kill him. I want to tear all human beings to pieces." "Pa!" Li Yu turned around and slapped Feng Wan hard on the face. Her face seemed to be covered with frost. "Feng Wan, stop making trouble. If you don't want King to die, don't say a word." After finishing speaking, she didn't take another look at Feng Wan, who was stunned, but she walked quickly to Shiyu and knelt down. "Tiu, I beg you to save our king. As long as you can save King, we are willing to pay any price. From now on, no matter what you want us to do, if we refuse, let us be detested by the beast god and suffer for eternity." As soon as Li Yu said this, all the beastkins looked dull, then they let out cries of surprise. Li Yu, what did you say? He can save King? Is that true? Li Yu, have you been deceived by him? Human beings are cunning and insidious. However, Li Yu didn't seem to hear the words of his fellow beastkins at all. She just looked at Heshi persistently and firmly with tearful eyes. Heshi pursed his lips, glanced at the unconscious and dying beastkin king, and said with deep eyes, I want Jade Fire Toad. If I save your king, he wants to take the Jade Fire Toad from me, then wouldn't I lose more than gain? Before Li Yu could speak, a chubby beastkin said excitedly, This, human doctor, I can assure you on behalf of King. As long as you save King, Jade Fire Toad will be yours. We don't want it. We only want King to be alive. Heshi raised her eyebrows. You give me the Jade Fire Toad on behalf of your king? Li Yu explained, Miracle healer she, that Jade Fire Toad is the remnant soul left by the former beastkin King Fire Toad. Fire Toad is the ancestor of Brother Pang, so Brother Pang can make the decision. Heshi was still pondering, then a rank 9 beastkin also came forward, staring at Heshi with red eyes. We have seen the person who took Jade Fire Toad just now. Although we don't have time to pursue it now, no one can take away treasure from us for no reason. When we calm down, the Beastkin clan will hunt down humans forever. We will not hesitate to let the magical beast army cross the border again and let the humans plunge into the abyss of misery. Heshi squinted her eyes. Are you threatening me? Chapter 1436. Reborn from the ashes, the rank 9 beastkin fell to his knees in front of Heshi with a thud and said in a trembling voice, I just hope you can save our king. As long as King can survive, you can choose any treasure of our beastkin clan. Little Golden Dragon also whispered, Boss, I can sense the aura of the same kind from that beastkin king. Boss, why don't you save him? The beastkins knelt down one by one, looking at Heshi expectantly. Most beastkins were simple and honest. Since Heshi said she could save the king, they fully believed that their king could really be saved. Heshi walked slowly to the unconscious beastkin king, grabbed his wrist and checked. Her spiritual power that went into beastkin king's body was forced out by a scorching fiery force, but the beastkin's pulse clearly conveyed the condition in his body. I'm right. There was a flash of understanding in Heshi's eyes. The beastkin king was not dead, or in other words, not dead yet. He was using Jade Fire Toad's extreme yang flames to put his broken body to death, then it was reborn from the ashes. However, now his fundamental essence couldn't sustain anymore, and the burning pain of the extreme yang flames couldn't be endured by will, so he was at the end of his strength. He would step into the abyss with just one step. Heshi took out the gold needles and inserted them into Beastkin King's acupuncture points one by one. As expected, the body structure of the Beastkin King was very similar to that of the little golden dragon. His true form was probably also a type of dragon. Fortunately, she had treated little golden dragon, otherwise she really couldn't find his acupuncture points in a short time. Time passed by, and countless golden needles had been pierced into the unconscious Beastkin King's body. The Beastkins were all watching nervously, not even daring to take another breath. Even the most irritable Feng Wan watched stiffly, for fear of disturbing Heshi. When the last golden needle was inserted, a dragon chant resounded in the space. Heshi's complexion changed slightly, and she backed off for a dozen meters like a cannonball. The needles that were originally inserted into Beastkin King's body seemed to be ejected with some kind of force. Beastkin King's body slowly floated up in the air. Red and blue lights began to radiate from his body. What is this going? King, how are you? King, are you okay? It was not the Beastkin King's answer that responded to the Beastkins, but the thundercloud that came from nowhere in the sky. Boom, boom. There were thunder and lightning flashing in the sky as if the end of the world was coming. At this moment, all the Beastkins screamed in shock. Under the cover of these thunderclouds, their panic and despair all turned into surprise and worry. They were surprised because these weren't ordinary thunderclouds, but the tribulation clouds when the Beastkin faced the tribulation. Now that the tribulation clouds appeared, it meant that their king was about to advance to rank 12 divine beast. They were worried that the tribulation of the divine beast was not to be taken lightly. Their king had just suffered such a serious injury. Could he still withstand the thunderclouds now? Heshi was also shocked. She didn't expect that the Beastkin King would actually be reborn from the ashes. He even gained great power from the extreme yang flames. Heshi couldn't help admiring the Beastkin King's tenacity for enduring such pain that could kill him. She smiled and murmured silently, "Since it has come to this point, wouldn't it be a pity if you are killed by the tribulation clouds now? Then let me help you." Chapter 1437. Feng Family Patriarch. As she spoke, a green light ball flew toward the Beastkin King in the air without a sound. This was the wood's spiritual power purified by the circle of life. Although it was not as overpowered as the source of life, it was also the best repairing and nourishing thing. Coupled with the water and fire spiritual power possessed by the Beastkin King, after complementing each other, it would have an unexpected beneficial effect. No beastkin noticed the existence of the green light ball. They only saw that after their king was struck by the first thunder, a dazzling green light suddenly radiated from his body. Where the green light covered, the withered vegetation was thriving again. Even the air seemed to emit a rich fragrance. The beastkins also felt that the wounds on their bodies had healed again. Their bodies were filled with endless power. King, king, king. They knelt down and kowtowed in joy. Their voices were full of joy and admiration. This time, the blue-green light that appeared on Beastkin King didn't just fill the magical beast forest like Heshi did at the beginning, but it rose directly into the sky and even echoed the thunderclouds. Therefore, such a change, whether it was the people in the magical beast forest or the people near the magical beast forest, they could clearly see it. Many people felt the traces of wood's spiritual power, which also triggered the greed in their hearts. The Feng family on Woyang Mountain was one of them. "Patriarch? Why are you here?" "The Venerable. Aren't you retreating?" The master of the Feng family and the elders were watching the movement in the magical beast forest in bewilderment and shock. Then they suddenly heard the noise. When Feng Batian looked back, he was also startled. Not far from the forbidden area, a tall and thin white-bearded old man walked over quickly. It was the patriarch of their Feng family, Venerable Mu Hua. Venerable Mu Hua had reached the nascent soul stage perfect stage decades ago, and his pill refining technique had reached the great grandmaster level. No matter in terms of strength or medicinal pills support, Venerable Mu Hua was the pillar of Feng family. He was the most important existence for the Feng family to survive. A few years ago, Venerable Mu Hua began to retreat in order to reach the soul-splitting stage. He once said that if he could not break through the bottleneck, he would never leave the forbidden area. Why did Venerable Mu Hua the Venerable appear here today? There were no tribulation clouds when breaking through to the soul-splitting stage in the past few days, and the patriarch doesn't seem to have advanced. But Venerable Mu Hua ignored everyone's inquiries, but he locked his eyes firmly on the depths of the magical beast forest that was shrouded in the green light. His eyes were filled with scorching desires. "Banin, gather your people immediately and follow me into the magical beast forest." Feng Batian was full of surprise and doubt. He forgot about the green light. He wanted to ask what it was, but the patriarch's prestige made him dare not say more. He just bowed and said, "How many people does Patriarch want?" Venerable Mu Hua squinted and said in a deep voice, "Gather all the people who are above the gold core stage, intermediate stage, and nascent soul stage. This is the moment of our Feng family's life and death. No matter what, we must get that thing." Feng Batian's face suddenly changed. Calling people who are above the gold core stage, intermediate stage, and nascent soul stage, that is almost 90% of Feng family's combat power. If they are lost in the magical beast forest, then Feng family will really be over this time. Chapter 1438. Greed. Feng Yunjing, standing next to Feng Batian, was taught by Venerable Mu Hua when he was young, so he was a little presumptuous when facing Venerable Mu Hua. He said, "The Venerable, what exactly is that thing you are talking about?" "Wood source." Venerable Mu Hua said slowly. His voice was calm and hoarse, but the fiery flames in his eyes seemed to burst out at any moment. As long as I have a wood source, let alone breaking through the soul-splitting stage, even creating hundreds of nascent soul stage cultivators is not a problem for our Feng family. As Venerable Mu Hua said that, his eyes fell on Feng Yunjing with burning with temptation. Even you Yunjing, as long as you have the wood source, you will definitely be able to break through to the soul-splitting stage within 10 years. Break through to the soul-splitting stage within 10 years. Feng Yunjing gasped. The shock on his face slowly turned into a greedy burning desire. Wood source? As long as I get this thing, I will be stronger than Nangong Yu. I can take revenge for being randomly sent to the endless glacier that day, and I can imprison Shiyu by my side. Great, great. Wood source, I want to get it. I must get it. Feng Beishan's eyes were also burning with desire. He exchanged a glance with the other elders, then he turned around and quickly went to gather the people. Venerable Mu Hua clenched his fists tightly, and his heart was surging. I never expect that the wood source that even the upper realms have been searching for thousands of years will appear in Miluo continent. If I hadn't experienced the power of a virtual wood source in Siam continent, I would have missed it this time. Perhaps, this is a blessing to our Feng family, so we can become the real ruler of unifying Miluo continent. Even our Feng family will have a place in Siam continent. In the magical beast forest, Golden Wolf fled like a dog among the tall trees. There was no figure behind him, no sound of footsteps, no sound of flying through the air, but Golden Wolf felt the hairs all over his body stand on end. An invisible fear clutched his mind, making him feel the despair and anger of being played with as a prey. This trip to the magical beast forest was originally planned perfectly. But who knows, accidents happened again and again. First, someone suddenly advanced with the perfect stage, the captured beastkin recovered, and the heavenly mulberry sacred tree grew again, and then such a boy with superb cultivation appeared. A mere low-rank martial artist from Miluo continent actually cultivates to the soul-splitting stage intermediate stage, and he even possesses the most terrifying dark element spiritual root. If I had known earlier, if I had known this would happen. Just as he was thinking, suddenly the sky was densely covered with tribulation thunderclouds. Amidst the thunder and lightning, the entire magical beast forest seemed to tremble violently. Golden Wolf looked up at the thunderclouds in horror. This is advancement. Is this the tribulation of the beastkin evolving into a divine beast? How can this be? That beastkin king is about to die. How could he suddenly advance? Soon, something that even stunned Golden Wolf happened. A green light suddenly soared into the sky, then it enveloped half of the magical beast forest. Where Golden Wolf was located, he could still feel the vitality brought by the slight wood spiritual power. Wood source. Golden Wolf gasped. His voice was trembling. Although there is only a small amount, it is indeed the wood source. This Miluo continent actually has the wood source. Chapter 1439. I hope. It isn't you. This time, Golden Wolf was not calm at all. Originally, he planned to escape from the magical beast forest with his own strength, then he would use the teleportation array to escape. The magical beast forest was different from other places. This was the territory of the beastkin. Except for the beastkin, other martial artists who used space technique would be torn to pieces by the space-time fissure. Golden Wolf took out an old compass. The compass was given to him by the Lord. It was the most important life-saving magic weapon. As long as he activated it, it could directly send him back to Siam continent. This disastrous defeat made him afraid to use the compass. Otherwise, even if he went back, the Lord would definitely punish him severely. But now it was different. He got the news of the wood source. As long as he brought this news back, spiritual power was poured into the compass. When the compass was about to light up, a cold and chilling murderous intent shrouded him. Golden Wolf was astounded. He was about to resist when he suddenly felt a chill in his neck and was directly strangled by someone. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the person who appeared in front of him out of thin air. It was a man in black with a stern face. Every inch of his body seemed to carry the indifference that no one should get close. He held Golden Wolf's throat with his hand. Golden Wolf was obviously a master at the soul-splitting later stage, but in his eyes, there was not even the slightest ripple, as if he was looking at a lifeless stone. This person, Golden Wolf knew him. However, it wasn't Nangong Yu who Golden Wolf thought was chasing him, but, you. Before Golden Wolf could finish speaking, a strange red bag suddenly appeared on the other hand of the man in black. As the hand that clutched Golden Wolf's neck flicked, the man in a black shirt threw Golden Wolf into the red bag. After putting away the bag, the man in black didn't leave immediately. Instead, he looked at the direction shrouded in a green light, frowning slightly. Wood source, Shiyu. I hope it's not you. After only a few seconds, Nangong Yu caught up, but he saw no one around. He raised his eyebrows. He smelled the smell of blood in the air, and there seemed to be a strange and familiar powerful aura. Tisk, Nangong Yu curled his lips unhappily. I'm one step late. Someone got him before me. Looking at the direction covered by the green light and thunderclouds, Nangong Yu no longer hesitated and rushed in the direction of Toad Jade Palace. It's just a prey. If it's gone, it's gone. For me, Shear's safety is the most important. Hashi, who caused this commotion, was also very depressed. I just wanted to help the Beastkin King who had exhausted his spiritual power to survive the tribulation. But I never expected that just a little bit of purified wood spiritual power would cause such a big commotion. However, Hashi could feel that the wood spiritual power emanating from the Beastkin King seemed to be much thinner than the wood spiritual power in her body, and it was also tainted with the water spiritual power. Shear, you are awake? Nangong Yu's voice came from behind, then she was quickly embraced into a broad embrace. Nangong Yu is back. Hashi turned around in surprise. She was relieved to see that Nangong Yu was safe and sound. Just now she was uneasy because of the movement caused by the wood spiritual power, but now seeing Nangong Yu, all her worries were replaced by peace of mind and trust. Nangong Yu glanced at the Beastkin King floating in midair, lowered his head and asked Hashi with his eyes. Chapter 1440. Everything is up to my lady. Hashi coughed lowly and said with a guilty conscience, the Beastkin King was originally burned by the flames of the jade fire toad. I helped him with golden needles, but I didn't expect to help him absorb the extreme yang flames and caused a thunder tribulation. If he survived the thunder tribulation, he would be a true divine beast. Even Nangong Yu was no match to him. Nangong Yu felt that Hashi didn't tell everything, especially the green light that obviously contained a powerful wood spiritual power. He always felt that it had something to do with Hashi. But there were beastkin everywhere at this moment, so he held back the desire to ask. Where's Jade Fire Toad? This was what Hashi cared most about. Nangong Yu took Jade Fire Toad out of his arms. Before Jade Fire Toad had never been nourished, it belonged to the most yang treasure in the world. Anything, including storage bags, could only be burned by it. After Nangong Yu destroyed a storage bag and a bag of crystal stones, he had to keep it close to his body. Only the cold poison on his body could restrain the blazing flames of the Jade Fire Toad. Hashi wanted to reach out to touch Jade Fire Toad, but she was quickly stopped by Nangong Yu. But even though Nangong Yu's speed was so fast, Hashi's index fingertip was still a little red. Nangong Yu's face was so unsightly that it was frightening, but the movement of grabbing Hashi's hand was very gentle. He gently sucked the red-hot index finger into his mouth. Hashi's face turned red all of a sudden. She looked around, only to see that many beastkins had noticed the movement here and looked over one after another. The original burning pain in the hand disappeared, replaced by a burst of coolness. Hashi quickly retracted her hand, only to see that the burn marks on it had disappeared, but it became wet. This guy. But immediately, Hashi's face changed slightly. She grabbed Nangong Yu's hand and released spiritual power into it. Sure enough, a bone-chilling chill penetrated into her body, making her shiver uncontrollably. The cold poison has struck ahead of time. Why? After thinking for a moment, Hashi figured out the key to this. Nangong Yu could grab Jade Fire Toad with bare hands because he had the cold poison in his body that was at the same level as the Jade Fire Toad. But also because of touching the extreme yang flames, the cold poison that had been dormant was awakened. Just like rivals of the same level competing with each other, the cold poison was activated in advance. Heshi looked solemn. She said calmly, "It can't delay any longer. I will find a place to treat you right now." Of course, Nangong Yu knew best about his own body. The cold poison in his body was spreading crazily. If there was no Jade Toad fire to suppress it, he would be completely unable to move in half an hour. But just as Heshi trusted him, he also trusted Heshi's medical skills and judgment unconditionally. Hearing this, he didn't feel worried or panicked at all. He just smiled and said, "Okay, everything is up to my lady." Heshi rolled her eyes at him. This guy can still joke at this time. They were about to leave, but they were stopped by the Beastkins. Heshi frowned and said, "You said that as long as I save the Beastkin King, the Jade Fire Toad will be mine. Are you going to renege?" "Absolutely not." The Beastkins shook their heads again and again, looking at Heshi with gratitude and admiration. "Miracle healer, she has great kindness to us. Let alone a mere Jade Fire Toad, except Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree, even if you want to take all of our treasures. We will never hesitate." Chapter 1441. Huge cost. Although they hated humans, they had heard from Li Yu that the human in front of them saved the Beastkins time and time again. She could be said to be the biggest benefactor of the Beastkins in the magical beast forest. Li Yu said on behalf of the other Beastkins, "Miracle healer she, if you don't mind, you can perform healing in the magical beast forest. Behind this forest, there is a cave. That place is very hidden. If you need us to protect, we can also." Heshi breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a gentle expression. "There is no need to guard us. Please take us to that cave." When she was treating Nangong Yu, she would probably use Wood's spiritual power, which couldn't be discovered by any human or beastkin. In the magical beast forest, thunderclouds were still densely covered, but the green light had disappeared without a trace. It could be said that the Feng family had paid a huge cost to get this wood source. Venerable Mu Hua took out the directional teleportation array and teleported the people Feng Tianba had gathered to the depths of the magical beast forest in one go. The directional teleportation array was the top-level array in Miluo continent. The teleportation distance could reach thousands of kilometers, and the approximate landing point could be specified. However, it would cost tens of thousands of upper-grade crystal stones to activate the directional teleportation array, and it would also require nascent soul stage martial artists to overdraw their lifespan to activate it. So originally, the ancestors of the Feng family left this directional teleportation array to allow the family to escape in times of crisis. For the wood source, Venerable Mu Hua couldn't care much. If he was one step later and the vision disappeared, it would be extremely difficult to find the wood source. The sky was getting closer to dusk. Because of the thunderclouds, the forest looked dark, giving people a sense of oppression. Feng Yunjing led a dozen gold core stage martial artists and a nascent soul stage elder to shuttle in the forest, inspecting the surrounding suspicious phenomena little by little. Venerable Mu Hua and Feng Batian had already rushed to the direction where the tribulation thunderclouds gathered. Feng Yunjing and the others led their own teams to guard the surrounding areas. They searched for clues while blocking all possible escape routes of the wood source. From time to time, Feng Yunjing's gaze would look toward the direction where lightning struck. He also really wanted to go there to the wood source as soon as possible. "If I can get the wood source myself," Feng Yunjing swallowed with unwillingness and greed in his eyes. "Young master, come and take a look. There seems to be something strange here." The subordinate's voice quickly brought Feng Yunjing back from his thoughts. A gold core stage martial artist discovered an extremely hidden cave. When they didn't get close, they might just treat this cave as an ordinary bush. However, when the martial artist looked closely for a moment out of curiosity, he felt a fiery aura rushing toward them. He had retreated as fast as he could, but a large piece of his hair was still scorched. Feng Yunjing also approached the cave, But what he felt was not the scorching heat, but the freezing cold that would freeze his breath. "What is inside?" he murmured suspiciously. "Is this where beastkins hide their treasures?" Thinking of this, Feng Yunjing's eyes lit up. A long sword transfigured in his hand, and he struck suddenly. The weeds that originally covered the cave made a piercing sound, then they were uprooted by the sword blow. All eyes were on the cave. After seeing the scene in the cave clearly, Feng Yunjing's breath was stagnant. There was a trace of disbelief in his eyes. Chapter 1442, Fated Encounter. Afterward, a smile was evoked on his face slowly. The smile became more and more wanton, more and more vicious. After the bushes were blown away, a spacious cave was revealed. But what appeared in the cave was not any beastkin treasure, but two people. The young handsome man's eyes were closed tightly. His body constantly exuded hot and cold aura alternately. His body trembled unconsciously. Obviously, he was in great pain. And behind the young man, a handsome young man only wearing thin clothes was putting his palms on the young man's back. A light green spiritual power slowly penetrated into the man's heart along his back. The young man's expression was dignified and anxious, as if he had forgotten the whole world. His eyes were full of worries about the young man. Feng Yunjing recognized at just one glance that the young man was Nangong Yu, and that handsome young man like a moon elf was none other than Shi Yu disguised as a man. Of these two people, one was the man he dreamed of getting rid of and the other was the woman he dreamed of getting. Today, God really favors me and send these two people to me, and it is with this method, ha! At this moment, the elder walking with Feng Yunjing suddenly exclaimed, "Yunjing, look at the green spiritual power circulating in that young man's hand. Does it look like the wood's source?" Feng Yunjing's heart suddenly constricted upon hearing this. Even the other Feng family's disciples stared straight at each other with eyes full of excitement and greed. After looking carefully, they could find that the air seemed to be filled with a vitality that was stronger than in other places. This kind of green spiritual power, even if it was not a wood source, must be extremely precious. Should we notify the patriarch immediately? The elder of the Feng family asked. Feng Yunjing swallowed and said decisively, "The venerable and the others are busy, let's catch them first." After a pause, he looked at the elder with eyes full of temptation and suggestion and said faintly, "Elder Lu, although the wood source is precious, it is not available to everyone in the Feng family. But if it is only the two of us find the wood source?" The elder's eyes lit up. He immediately agreed to Feng Yunjing's suggestion. Not only because of the temptation of the wood source, but also because of the two people in the cave. Their condition didn't seem very good. Especially King of Hell, no matter how terrifying he was at the beginning, now he seemed to be on the verge of death. Feng Yunjing clenched the sword in his hand, walked slowly into the cave, stared at Shi Yu who was wearing thin clothes. His eyes swept across her delicate face and radiant skin before softly saying, "Shi Yu, do you still remember how you escaped from my hands on the Breaking Spirit Mountain? However, I also said that this was your last chance. This time, I will never let you escape from my grasp." The flame light on Nangong Yu's body flickered, and the temperature in the air rose again. The faces of several Gold Core stage disciples were red, but to Feng Yunjing from nascent soul stage, this heat was nothing. Heshi frowned suddenly. She increased the output of the wood's spiritual power again, and a hoarse voice came from her mouth. "Nangong Yu concentrates. Now is the most critical moment." Afterward, she shouted in a low voice, "Little golden dragon." Chapter 1443. Vicious. As soon as she called out, Feng Yunjing felt a gust of wind blowing toward his face, making him take a step back involuntarily. In front of Heshi and Nangong Yu, the little ones appeared. The little golden dragon hovered in the air and raised his voice. "Boss, don't worry. We will definitely stop these guys." As he said that, his contemptuous and loathing eyes fell on Feng Yunjing. "You really won't give up, will you? A piece of trash like you even dreams of touching my boss? I think your brain has been filled with too much shit. Little golden dragon, you're wrong." Little Egg said angrily with his little hooves on his waist, "This kind of idiot who asked for humiliation repeatedly and doesn't even know how to write the word ugly, does he have any brains? Chirp chirp chip, it's none of my business. Why even I have to fight? And who are these people? Their smell is so stinky. They should all be burned to death, so as not to pollute the air." Feng Yunjing's face was as gloomy as water. It wasn't the first time he was insulted by these little beasts. As early as breaking Spirit Mountain, he wanted to tear these beasts into pieces. This time, I will never give them another chance to be alive. Just a bunch of beasts. I'll make you all speechless in no time. The long sword in Feng Yunjing's hand suddenly floated up. At the same time, the black flag he had repaired rose up into the sky. Feng Yunjing had fought with these spiritual pets of Shiyu. Although he knew that their abilities were very special, he didn't pay them in his eyes at all. But after fighting, Feng Yunjing discovered that the cultivation of these little beasts had improved a lot in just half a year. And the few little beasts had cooperated very tacitly now. Little Dumb Cow was defending, Little Golden Dragon was attacking, Shaoli was in charge of field control, Little Red Bird was flying around to harass them, and Little Egg was responsible for replenishing their beastkin power. 2 nascent soul stage plus a dozen gold core stage were in a stalemate when facing these 5 spiritual pets. Feng Yunjing glanced at Nangong Yu at the side, wondering if he was having an illusion. Nangong Yu's erratic aura seemed to have stabilized a lot. If this gets dragged like this, Nangong Yu's injury will be healed by Shiyu. By then, what chance would we have to survive? A glint of sternness flashed in Feng Yunjing's eyes. He suddenly sneered and said, "Shiyu, do you still remember the kind of intimate contact I had with you in breaking Spirit Mountain? I still remember the delicate fragrance emanating from your body. There has never been a woman who can haunt me so much. When I think of being able to ravage you under my body, I'm so excited. For more than half a year, every night I dream of you lying in my arms." Boom, there was a loud noise. The fiery aura that had stabilized on Nangong Yu's body suddenly tumbled like a storm. Nangong Yu's originally closed eyes suddenly opened. Hushi let out a muffled grunt, and she was ejected away by a huge force. Immediately afterward, a crimson flame burst out from Nangong Yu's dantian, surging into her body. Fiery, burning, incineration. The pain of the soul being scorched caused Hushi to groan. Afterward, the wood's spiritual power in her body instantly wrapped up the heat source as if it was alive. It devoured and melted the heat bit by bit. When Hushi fell to the ground, Nangong Yu had already stood up. Chapter 1444. Regret. It was just that something was completely wrong to him. His one eye was blue and the other eye was fiery red, staring firmly at Feng Yunjing. His body, with the nose as the middle, was half burning and half condensing into froths. Feng Yunjing and the others were stunned. An inexplicable fear surged in their minds. They wanted to scream and run away. But their feet seemed to be fixed by something. They couldn't move at all. Not to mention the people of the Feng family, even Little Egg and a few other little ones were stunned by this scene. Seeing Hushi being ejected, Little Egg wanted to rush over, but seeing Nangong Yu's appearance, he trembled all over. Daddy looks so scary. Little Egg is so scared. Woo. Mother. Little Red Bird, who was the least courageous, fled into the void in panic and got into Xiao Qi's arms. Really scary. Really terrible aura. Is he a god or a demon? What is that aura? Why do I feel the despair of destruction? Nangong Yu stretched out his flaming hand and grabbed Feng Yunjing's head. Feng Yunjing's pupils constricted. At that very moment, he gathered his strength miraculously, let out a short scream, and grabbed a disciple to block for him. With a sizzling sound, the Feng family's disciple was burned into ashes without even making a sound. Nangong Yu's other hand grabbed at another Feng family's disciple. Crack! His warm body was frozen into ice cubes in the blink of an eye, then he shattered. Just in the blink of an eye, 2 martial artists at the peak of the gold core stage were erased. Feng Yunjing regretted it, so regretful that his intestines turned green. He originally wanted to provoke Nan Gongyu so that he would go crazy and perhaps die due to the heavy injury. I didn't expect him to go crazy and even become so powerful. The Feng family's disciples were reduced to ashes one by one in the hands of Nan Gongyu. Each of them died so easily, like what Nan Gongyu killed was not a high-rank martial artist but an insignificant ant. Elder Lu trembled all over. He suddenly said in a trembling voice, "Run, run now. Inform the great elder." Feng Yunjing didn't want to fight for any wood source at this time. He just hoped to escape quickly. He frowned and woke up from the endless pain. The first thing she saw was Nan Gongyu, who had completely lost his mind and changed beyond recognition. In the eyes of others, Nan Gongyu was only scary and invincible, but He only took one look, and her heart skipped a beat. Nan Gongyu's cold poison was fully stimulated. It was about to devour the lingering flames of the jade fire toad bit by bit. Moreover, with Nan Gongyu's attack, the cold attribute of the cold poison would become stronger and stronger. The moment the extreme yang flame was completely devoured, Nan Gongyu would be killed by the cold poison. He sat up abruptly and shot the silver needles in his hand toward Nan Gongyu. However, before the silver needles even got close to Nan Gongyu's body, they were already reduced to ashes. He tried to call out a few more times, but Nan Gongyu couldn't hear her voice at all. Feng Yunjing and the others had just escaped to the entrance of the cave, but the crackling sound suddenly came from the entrance. An ice wall quickly condensed, blocking their way. The exit was blocked, and there was death behind. Chapter 1445. Bone-piercing pain. Elder Lu's face was distorted. His eyes were filled with fear and madness. He suddenly roared, "Since you won't give us a way out, I will fight to the death with you. We are both at the nascent soul stage. I don't believe you can be any stronger than us." A large amount of spiritual power gushed out from Elder Lu. At the same time, the soil in the cave also began to shake. The next moment, a large piece of rock raised from the ground, enveloping Nan Gongyu in it. Elder Lu had already pierced his sword toward Nan Gongyu's heart. The long sword pierced into Nan Gongyu's body, and Elder Lu's face showed ecstasy. But the next moment, the ecstasy turned into panic. There was an icy breath from the grade 9 sword in his hand. The sharp blade slowly condensed with frost, then it turned into powder inch by inch. The frost continued to spread onto his body. The last scene Elder Lu saw was a face that was half flaming and half frosty, and the red and blue eyes. They looked indifferent and cruel, as if he was looking at a dead man. Ah! Elder Lu's death made the people of the Feng family collapse. Nan Gongyu did not stop, and he walked toward Feng Yunjing. Feng Yunjing was terrified. He was retreating in despair, and he suddenly stumbled and fell to the ground. "Don't come over! Don't come over! Nan Gongyu, if you kill me, my father and the Venerable will not let you go." The disciples of the Feng family swung their swords desperately to resist. The fear in their eyes had turned into despair. In their eyes, Nan Gongyu was the god of death from hell, who could kill them at will. But only He present knew how bad Nan Gongyu's situation was at the moment. The flames on his body had become increasingly dimmer. Most of his body had been covered in frost, and his originally red pupil had also turned blue. Just a little longer and just a few more attacks, Nan Gongyu's dantian and fundamental essence would be completely swallowed by the cold poison. Nan Gongyu will die? I will never allow this to happen. A hint of determination flashed in Hishi's eyes. She rushed toward Nan Gongyu without hesitation. "Mom, don't. Boss, you are crazy. You will be frozen into ice crystals." The little ones were going crazy, desperately trying to stop Hishi, but it was too late. Hishi threw herself behind Nan Gongyu and hugged him tightly from behind. The bone-piercing cold mixed with scorching heat came from Nan Gongyu's body. Hishi could almost hear the sound of his own blood being frozen, and the sound of his flesh being scorched. "It hurts, it hurts. It hurts so badly. However, if I let go, Nan Gongyu will die. How can I allow it? Nan Gongyu, stop!" Hishi shouted hoarsely behind him. "If this keeps on, you will die. I don't want to lose you, Do you hear me? Nangong Yu's original forward movement stagnated slightly, and the cold poison that was spreading seemed to have slowed down a little. A faint hoarse voice came from the cave. Shi, I want to kill him, Nangong Yu. Hashi gritted her teeth. Trust me, let me handle it, okay? I will kill him and never let him have the slightest chance to humiliate me. Trust me. Chapter 1446, Arrogant and smug. The ice-blue pupils flickered for a while, then Nangong Yu closed his eyes and removed the spiritual power shield on his body. Hashi made a prompt decision, took out the silver needles, and pierced several big acupuncture points of Nangong Yu. Almost at the moment when the silver needles entered his body, Nangong Yu's body shook and he passed out. Mom, are you all right? Little Egg threw himself into Hashi's arms, touched the burn marks on Hashi's body, and cried very sadly. Hashi let out a breath, smiled, and comforted, Little Egg, don't worry, when I clean the wound with Circle of Life tomorrow, it will heal. Don't worry, I'm fine. Now the wood's spiritual power that Circle of Life could purify had been completely exhausted while healing Nangong Yu. At the beginning, Jade Fire Toad refused to enter Nangong Yu's body no matter what. It was Hashi who used the wood's spiritual power purified by the Circle of Life to guide it bit by bit with a difficulty. Finally, she managed to slowly merge the Jade Fire Toad with Nangong Yu's Dantian. Who knew that this hidden cave would be found by Feng Yunjing? Everything fell short. Jade Fire Toad was absorbed by her body, and Nangong Yu's cold poison was triggered completely. His life was on the verge of dying. All of this was caused by Feng Yunjing and his people. Ha, ha, ha. Feng Yunjing's laughter suddenly came from behind. From the intermittent and shocked at the beginning, he became arrogant and smug later. He thought he was going to die, but he didn't expect Shiyu to bring Nangong Yu down herself. Huh, Shiyu, are you interested in me? That's why you took action against Nangong Yu? Feng Yunjing stood up from the ground, patted the dust on his clothes, and turned back into the aloof young master of the Feng family in an instant. His burning eyes were fixed on Hashi. Shiyu, I will never forget your love for me. Hee, as long as you kill Nangong Yu now, I promise that the position of young madam of the Feng family is definitely yours. Feng Yunjing had already confirmed that Shiyu attacked Nangong Yu was because she had fallen for him. Otherwise, why would she save me from Nangong Yu's hands? Since Shiyu has such affection for him, I will not let her down. The precious wood source is also mine too. Ha! With the help of the little golden dragon, Hashi moved the unconscious Nangong Yu to a clean rock. Then she slowly got up and looked at Feng Yunjing not far away. The cave was still blocked by a thick layer of ice, but without Nangong Yu's spiritual power containing cold poison, the ice layer was just ordinary ice. A nascent soul stage martial artist could blast it away with a sword. So at this time, Feng Yunjing didn't want to run away at all. Instead, he showed a determined smile and walked toward Hashi. Hashi stretched out her slender fingers, and the Li Shui sword exuding colorful light slowly appeared in her hand. Feng Yunjing looked at the girl in front, and he suddenly felt in a trance. The willow eyebrows were dark without painting, the lips were red without cinnabar, and the bright phoenix pupils had a breathtaking beauty under the light of the ice. Shiyu, this is the woman I long for. This is the first woman I dream of getting. Today, I finally got her completely. If she still wants to resist, I will also get her first. Feng Yunjing squinted with a hint of ruthlessness. Hashi raised the Li Shui sword, and it burst into colorful light. Chapter 1447. The death of Feng Yunjing. The sword flew to the top of the cave, then thousands of swords rained down instantly. Feng Yunjing had seen this move before. Flying flower sword rain. Although it was somewhat interesting, it did not pose a threat to him at all. Swoosh, thousands of sword lights suddenly fell like rain. The young girl on the opposite smirked. The already delicate face was instantly radiant and beautiful. A bad premonition suddenly surged in Feng Yunjing's heart. The next moment, he heard the miserable screams of the remaining Feng family's disciples around him. He suddenly turned his head to look, then he widened his eyes in horror and disbelief. He saw bleeding corpses being pinned to the ground. Their chests had big holes and their hearts burst. Every corpse was full of disbelief, and their hands were still held stiffly in the air as if trying to grab the sword that pierced them. These are the martial artists at the gold core stage? All of them are the martial artists at the peak of the gold core stage. Li Shui's sword circled around and returned to Heshi's hands. The leisurely sneering eyes fell on Feng Yunjing's shocked face, and a clear voice sounded slowly in the cave. Feng Yunjing, as I said, one day, I will repay the humiliation you did on me on the Breaking Spirit Mountain. So, if you are dead under the others, how can I be happy? You and Feng Lianing have to die. Of course, you are all going to die by my hands. Feng Yunjing staggered back. The young girl in front of him obviously looked no more than 17 years old. She looked so slender and so weak, but he felt the fear of extinction from her. I just like you. I just want you to be my woman. I even promised you the position of young madam of the Feng family. How could you kill me? How could you? The Li Shui sword whistled toward him and obliquely slashed through Feng Yunjing's Adam's apple. In an instant, blood spurted out, and the panic shout stopped abruptly. Feng Yunjing didn't realize until his death that he actually fell for this woman whom he had been playing with in his hands all this time. He was not reconciled to die like this. After she dealt with Feng Yunjing, she hurried back to check on Nangong Yu's situation. If it wasn't for the special situation now, she wouldn't let him die so easily. Near Toad Jade Palace, Feng Tianba, who was guarding the periphery and waiting for instructions from Venerable Mu Hua, suddenly felt a palpitation in his heart as if his heart had been grabbed by something. It caused him unspeakable panic. Immediately afterward, there was a pop sound from his chest. Feng Tianba quickly took out the thing. His eyes turned red after seeing it. That was the vital jade pendant of his only son, Feng Yunjing. When the vital jade pendant was broken, it meant that Feng Yunjing was dead. Who killed Yunjing? Who killed my proudest son whom I spent the most effort to train? Feng Beishan's body kept trembling. His eyes stared in one direction. The hatred and anger in his eyes surged like a tide. Wood's source and the responsibility of the master of the Feng family were completely forgotten by him at this moment. Feng Tianba crushed the shattered jade pendant into powder, then sprinkled it into the air. The powder of the jade pendant flew toward a certain direction automatically. Come with me. Feng Bat-yin greeted all his subordinates and flew towards the direction where the powder was flying. Chapter 1448. Scary man. At this time, Heshi also fell into a state of anxiety. The cold poison on Nangong Yu's body became more and more fierce, and the extreme yang flames of the jade fire toad that he had absorbed were swallowed up by the cold poison little by little. Even because of the cold poison, no one except her could resist the invasion of the cold. The little ones had long been hiding in the void, not daring to show up. Heshi tried to mobilize the jade fire toad in her body, but jade fire toad seemed to disappear completely. No matter how she used divine sense to look inside and how she channeled her spiritual power, she couldn't even feel a trace of the toad. If this continues, Nangong Yu will definitely die. What to do? What to do? Heshi took a deep breath to calm herself down. Now she had no choice but to channel her own fire spiritual power in her body to see if she could relieve the spread of the cold poison. The pure fire spiritual power circulated in her dantian for one round and slowly condensed in her palm. Heshi didn't realize that when she was channeling the fire spiritual power, she also channeled the circle of life out of habit. The fire spiritual power entered Nangong Yu's body and was instantly swallowed by the cold poison without any suspense. To make matters worse, the cold poison in Nangong Yu's body seemed to have a suction force. When it came into contact with the fire spiritual power, it automatically drained a large amount. Heshi gritted her teeth and continued to channel fire's spiritual power. Her face turned pale bit by bit. Her originally rosy lips cracked and oozed blood. Just when Heshi felt that her dantian was getting more and more exhausted, and her strength was slowly fading, Nangong Yu, who was originally in a coma, opened his eyes suddenly. The blue eyes that were originally infected by the cold poison were now deep and dark like the abyss. There was no light in them at all. At the same time, there was the sound of ice shattering at the entrance of the cave. Liu was still worried about Shiyu's safety in Toad Jade Palace. The Beastkins only thought that Shiyu rescued them in the Mojing Pavilion, and she later rescued the Beastkin King with medical skills. But they didn't know that the wood source that suddenly emanated from Beastkin King also came from Shiyu. It could be said that Shiyu had the grace of rebuilding the Beastkin clan. After Shiyu and that scary man left, Liu considered for a long time, and she finally turned into Yumin Bird and quietly came near the cave. That's right, Liu felt that man named Nangongyu, who was Shiyu's partner, was scary. There was a terrifying coercion on her body, as well as an aura that was like the death that made both human and beastkin tremble. Liu was very afraid that Shiyu would get hurt when she was treating the man named Nangongyu. However, even Liu had already thought about the horror of Nangongyu many times in her mind. When she saw the scene in front of it, she still couldn't help being frightened until her feathers stood up. The cave in front of her was still a place Liu was familiar with. She and brother Feng Shan found this place by chance. Many beastkins couldn't discover it. However, this familiar place was completely covered in blood and severed limbs. The strong smell of blood spread throughout the entire, and even the flowers and plants beside withered because of being contaminated with too much evil aura. Standing in this pool of blood was a person in a black robe with an extraordinary demeanor, but he was terrifying like a demon from hell, Nangongyu. Liu saw Shiyu sitting cross-legged in a corner of the cave. At this moment, the bloody man who had killed everyone was walking toward Shiyu, her savior, step by step. Chapter 1449. 10,000 years old cold Jade Liu was still terrified, but she turned into a human form without hesitation and rushed to Shiyu's side. Sister Shiyu, hurry up and leave this place with me. It's so dangerous here. I will turn into a bird, and I will take you out immediately. As Liu spoke, she transformed into the Yumin bird that was 10 times bigger than before. The wings could almost fill the entire cave, and the wind and sand mixed with blood filled the sky. The claws quickly grabbed Hashi's shoulders and flew out of the cave. Hashi woke up from the meditation, cursed in her mind, and raised her voice as much as possible. Liu, put me down. All these happened in the blink of an eye. The cave entrance sealed by Nangongyu as ice was broken, and Feng Tianba led his people in. Seeing Feng Yunjing's body, Feng Tianba nearly went mad. He attacked Nangongyu and Hashi in a desperate manner. At that time, Hashi was absorbed by Nangongyu most of the spiritual power. The whole is already at the end of its strength. As they were about to be slaughtered by Feng Tianba, Nangongyu suddenly woke up. This woke up was completely different from when he slaughtered Elder Lu and the disciples of the Feng family just now. Hashi's current strength was close to the late stage of nascent soul, so she could clearly feel that Nangongyu's strength at this time had far exceeded the soul-splitting stage. The 3 nascent soul stage elders and a dozen gold core stage brought by Feng Tianba were killed in a few simple moves. Many people were torn to pieces by Nangongyu across the distance. Their internal organs, limbs and blood sprayed all over the ground. At the last moment of death, Feng Tianba couldn't believe that he, the master of the Feng family, would die like this. And the one who killed him was Nangongyu, whom he looked down upon and thought he had cheated for 20 years. As soon as Hashi uttered the words, Nangongyu made a move. Yumin bird was the fastest among birds, especially the instantaneous burst speed. However, just as Liu grabbed Hashi and was about to leave the cave, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in his 2 wings. Then she involuntarily changed into a human form and fell heavily to the ground. Nangongyu's eyes were gloomy and black. He looked at her coldly as if looking at a lifeless object. Whoever wants to take her away, die. Nangongyu, wait. Hashi rushed over and held Nangongyu's raised hand. She turned around sharply and sternly said to Liu, get out of here immediately. Seal the entrance and don't let anyone come in again. But Shiyu, he is so scary, Hashi frowned. Little golden dragon. The little golden dragon in the void rushed out quickly, grabbed Liu and moved out of the cave. At the same time, he cast a spell to lift the ground to seal the entrance, leaving only a narrow gap. The cave was instantly darkened. He felt the frosty chill on Nangong Yu's body. It had reached at least -40 degrees. She shivered and grabbed his hand. Nangong Yu, you must immediately. Before she could finish speaking, she was pushed to the ground by a huge force. Her lips were blocked in an instant, and the soft and slippery tongue with a cold breath forcefully pried open her lips and teeth, occupying all her breathing. She took a breath. She felt as if she was holding a popsicle in her mouth and her body was pressed by a 10,000 years old cold jade. Chapter 1450. It doesn't seem to be him. She stretched out and pushed the man away. Nangong Yu, what's happening to you? The next moment, she heard a tearing sound. Half of her clothes were torn off. Her naked skin felt a more bone-chilling chill. She shivered. Her body felt chilly. In the darkness, she raised her head and met those dark eyes, which were darker than the night. She had a creepy feeling in her heart. The man in front of him was clearly Nangong Yu, but it didn't seem to be him. She was terrified by the unfamiliar coercion. She instinctively wanted to struggle and scream. However, the cold hands had already restrained all her movements. The rough palms with thin calluses were groping and kneading her smooth and jade-like skin. There was an obvious domineering and possessive desire. Nangong Yu. Heshi's hoarse calling sounded so abrupt and obvious in the darkness. The originally dark eyes suddenly flickered, and Nangong Yu's eyes showed a hint of struggle. The eyes were stained with ice blue color. Sheer, I'm cold. The hoarse voice was full of uneasiness and loneliness. Don't leave me, Sheer. Don't leave me alone. Heshi seemed to be stabbed by something in the heart, and she stretched out to hug the man's cold body. The water light in her eyes was faintly visible. The cold poison was triggered and Nangong Yu's life was at stake, but she couldn't do anything. Jade Fire Toad? The Jade Fire Toad that I finally found, why did it fall short? My medical skills can obviously save so many people, but why can't I save the man loved the most? Desperate anger surged in Heshi's heart. She hugged the man's cold body tightly as if she had endless grievances and unwillingness. She didn't realize that there was a faint red light emitting from her body with a warm temperature. And Nangong Yu seemed to have suddenly found some way to save himself, and he suddenly hugged the soft body of the girl under him. A messy and rough kiss landed on Heshi's neck, his cold body desperately looking for a source of warmth. The sharp teeth bit the delicate skin on the neck, and the warm and sweet liquid poured into the tip of the tongue. Nangong Yu's body stiffened suddenly. At the moment the blood flowed down his throat, he felt the long-lost warmth. He seemed to have finally found the bond that could protect him for a lifetime. It was as if the cold poison that had tortured him for more than a dozen years had suddenly disappeared without a trace. It also seemed that he had obtained everything he desired most in the world. In the silent night, only the sound of sucking blood remained. The moment Heshi's skin was torn by the bite, her consciousness felt chaotic. Her eyes were heavy and could no longer be opened. Finally, she fell asleep. In the dark night, Nangong Yu propped up his body and held the unconscious girl tightly in his arms. Even if it was pitch black, he could clearly see the girl's long eyelashes hanging down. The eyelashes were stained with crystal water droplets. Even in the dark, the soft white skin exuded a fascinating shimmer. I obviously hug her in my arms, but it isn't enough, far from enough. I want more. I want to own such a wonderful person forever. I will never let her leave my side. The scorching palms covered the girl's smooth skin, wanting to devour her desperately. But there was a voice in his heart that said, no, not now. Nangong Yu lowered his head and hugged the girl tightly into his arms. His heavy and tired eyes were slowly closed, but his hands did not let go at all. They tightly guarded like a giant dragon guarding his treasure, not allowing anyone to covet. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1451, Ferocious Smile. The Beastkins were nervously watching the advancement of the Beastkin King. No one noticed that the misty smoke spread silently in Toad Jade Palace. When Beastkin noticed, they couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground one by one. People of the Feng family came out of their hiding places laughing, looking at Venerable Mu Hua with admiration and awe. This was their patriarch. The alchemy master who was 1 foot stepped into the soul-splitting stage, Venerable Mu Hua. Venerable Mu Hua, you are so powerful. Even the rank 9 Beastkin can't resist your drug. Venerable Mu Hua stroked his beard and said with a leisurely smile, my soul-enchanting smoke is an ancient prescription from the upper realm. Not to mention Beastkin, even the soul-splitting stage martial artists can't resist it. The magical beast forest is indeed terrifying and unfathomable. Venerable Mu Hua glanced around and smiled with contempt in his eyes, but only because of the rank 11 Beastkin who is advancing and the heavenly mulberry sacred tree's protection. But now, the demi-divine beast has lost its combat effectiveness and the heavenly mulberry sacred tree has been damaged. The protection range has shrunk. Do you think these little Beastkins can pose a threat to us humans? Haha, one of the elders of the Feng family laughed. In terms of strength, these Beastkins' cultivation is of course higher than ours, but in terms of shrewdness, these Beastkins are simply stupid and vulnerable. Seeing that these Beastkin were easily knockout, the great-grand elder of the Feng family had a bad premonition for some reason. But since Venerable Mu Hua said that it was fine, he swallowed the words that came to his lips. The great-grand elder bowed and said, "The Venerable, what should we do with these Beastkin? Should we kill them on the spot?" Venerable Mu Hua narrowed his eyes slightly, and a flash of burning greed flashed in his eyes. No, someone above wants these Beastkins, and the price is very high. You all control these Beastkins, but you must ensure that they have no ability to resist. I'll deal with them later. Ensure that they could not resist? That was to cut off the hands and feet and even peel their skin and severed their tendons. Other methods were not necessarily safe for the Beastkins with powerful physique. This was obviously an extremely cruel method, but it was as simple as killing a chicken for the people of the Feng family and Golden Wolf. The members of the Feng family responded quickly, and Venerable Mu Hua looked at the man in a red robe above. His eyes flashed, and his body trembled excitedly. This is what I want. The wood source aura emanates from this rank 11 Beastkin. At usual times, I can't deal with this Beastkin. But at this moment, this Beastkin is advancing, which is the weakest period. As long as I kill this beast now, the wood source will be mine. Ha! Thinking of this, Venerable Mu Hua didn't hesitate any longer. He soared into the air and flew straight toward Venerable Mu Hua. His palm had transfigured a weapon that looked like a sword but not a sword. A flat and long sword, but with serrated edges on both sides. If this sword penetrated into a person's body, it could put out all the internal organs when drawing out. Moreover, the blade was smeared with poison. Anyone who was stabbed by this sword, no matter if it was a human or a Beastkin, it would die a miserable death. A ferocious smile appeared on Venerable Mu Hua's face. The wrinkles that usually disappeared because of his solemnity and dignity now appeared on his face like ugly reptiles. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1452. The consequence of self-righteousness. I'm already hundreds of years old. If I still don't break through, my lifespan will soon come to an end. But I haven't enjoyed enough of the wonderful taste of power, How can I be willing to die of old age? However, it is different with wood source. I will definitely break through and return to my youth. At that time, let alone Miluo continent, I will even have a place in the Siam continent. The long sword full of barbs stabbed fiercely at the Beastkin King whose eyes were closing. Venerable Mu Hua smirked, waiting for the pleasure of splattering blood and flesh. But the next moment he met a pair of mocking eyes. The sharp sword tip stopped half an inch away from Beastkin King's heart as if it had encountered some resistance. Venerable Mu Hua's eyes widened. A trace of unbelievable horror quickly passed through his mind. He raised his head and looked up, only to see that dusk was approaching, but the thunderclouds in the sky had dissipated at some point. The lightning and thunder just now was gone like a dream. Ah! The terrified screams of the disciples of the Feng family came from below. When Venerable Mu Hua looked down, he saw those beastkins who were unconscious just now unexpectedly woke up. They were slaughtering the disciples of the Feng family one by one with sinister smiles. Venerable Mu Hua only felt that his breathing seemed to be stagnant. He stared at the Beastkin King stiffly. He wanted to withdraw his long sword, but found that he couldn't move a single bit. You lied to me. You have already completed the thunder tribulation? The young man in a red robe stretched out his slender white hand and grabbed the long sword full of barbs. With just a light force, Venerable Mu Hua's sword was snatched away by him. The Beastkin King sneered slightly, but there was a ferocious hint in his eyes. Even if you humans are despicable, do you think we will fall for the same method successively? Hee, you really think we beastkins are fools? Since you are all so self-righteous and think that you can benefit from us beastkins, then taste the consequence of your self-righteousness. As soon as he finished, that slender white hand suddenly turned into an ice-blue claw that resembled a dragon claw. With a puff, it pierced through Venerable Mu Hua's heart. Below, the toad beastkin surnamed Pang turned into a huge toad, crushing a Feng family's disciples into meat paste. Then he turned into the human form again, wiped the blood splattered on his mouth, and sneered. Fortunately, Miracle Healer, she left some medicine for us before he left. These human beings think their drugs are so powerful, but compared to Miracle Healer, they are still far worse. At this time, the disciples of the Feng family also saw Venerable Mu Hua, whose heart had been pierced by the Beastkin King in midair. At this moment, the luck and fear in their minds turned into horrific despair. They screamed and fled in all directions. Even the respected elders of the Feng family were the same. At this time, no one laughed at the stupidity of the beastkins, and no one coveted the wood source. When Toad Jade Palace and the mysterious cave were in dire straits, the people of Miracle Healer Academy were still waiting anxiously and panicked. The elders of the Doctors Association had been tied up one by one with natural silk. Lu Jishi and several Pioneer Branch students who had fought against Shiyu were also restrained. Lu Jishi was still in a coma, so she couldn't explain for herself, but those in the Pioneer Branch were not reconciled. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1453, Scared Witless. We are also students of Miracle Healer Academy, and Shiyu is also a student of Miracle Healer Academy. How can you treat us like that? A beautiful girl among them said proudly, "You guys better let me go. I just saw the unique contact signal of our Feng family. That can only be used by the master or elder. The people of our Feng family are in the magical beast forest now. Perhaps the thunderclouds and abnormalities deep in the forest were also caused by our Feng family. When the time comes, the elders of our Feng family will not let you go if they know you treat me like this." This girl was also a talented and intelligent disciple of the Feng family. Although she was not as famous as Feng Lianying, she was actually more talented. She was carefully cultivated by the great elder of the Feng family. The elders of the Doctors' Association were already desperate, but when they heard the girl's words, they all beamed with joy. The Feng family and the Doctors' Association were in a close relationship. If the big shots of the Feng family really came to the magical beast forest, then even the Miracle Healer Academy couldn't deal with them casually, let alone a mere Shiyu. Several elders of Miracle Healer Academy looked at each other with a bit of hesitation. After losing Lu Li's sect, Feng family's strength had been reduced a lot, and their prestige was not as good as before. But a lean camel is bigger than a horse. If the Feng family really came to the magical beast forest with all their forces, Miracle Healer Academy would definitely suffer heavy losses in a fight with them. Just as they were hesitating, several figures suddenly rushed in this direction. There were also hoarse and excited cries for help and a strong smell of blood. The people of Miracle Healer Academy looked at the source of the sound. When the girl surnamed Feng from the Pioneer branch saw the appearance of the people, she immediately exclaimed, "That's the third elder and ninth elder." Afterward, she was immediately overjoyed. "See? Those are the elders of our Feng family, and they are all at the nascent soul stage. If you are sensible, release me now. Otherwise, when my Feng family's large force arrives, they will never let you go." Before the girl finished speaking, several black shadows flashed behind her suddenly. Afterward, the people of Miracle Healer Academy watched one elder of the Feng family, a martial artist at the nascent soul stage, being torn in half by the shoulders. Blood and internal organs splattered. One claw grabbed the heart and swallowed it. The people of Miracle Healer Academy stared blankly at this scene. They couldn't believe their eyes. Help me, it's Beastkin. Hurry up." Another elder of the Feng family screamed desperately and fled in their direction. However, before running a few steps, he was grabbed by another Beastkin again. His body was also torn apart, and his heart and dantian were swallowed. For a while, there was silence in the dark forest. Everyone held their breath. Seeing the Beastkins slowly approaching and the bloodstain on their mouths, they were almost scared out of their wits. Zheng Shouyue also looked solemn, blocking all the people of the Huang medical branch behind him. Beastkins, a lot of Beastkins, and almost all of them are above rank 7. There are even rank 8 and 9 magical beasts hidden around. Rank 7 Beastkin can fight against the martial artists at the intermediate stage and later stage of the nascent soul stage. What about rank 8 and 9? Zheng Shouyue couldn't imagine that if these Beastkins wanted to attack them, how many of his students and elders would escape alive. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1454. Make yourself at home. The leader was a rank 9 tiger beastkin with big ears and a square face. His face was full of murderous intent. He looked at the people of the Miracle Healer Academy coldly and said faintly, "It's another group of hateful humans. We might as well slaughter them all. I just found out that my beastkin power has increased a lot after devouring human hearts and dantian." As he spoke, he grinned and walked toward the people of Miracle Healer Academy step by step. Zheng Shouyue drew out his long sword. The elders of Miracle Healer Academy were filled with fear, but they still stepped forward one by one and stood in front of the students. They were ready to perish together with the Beastkins. But before the Tiger Beastkin took 2 steps, a chubby young man behind him slapped him on the head. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The chubby young man said angrily, "Don't you sense the smell of Miracle Healer Shi on them?" The Tiger Beastkin was taken aback by the words, and he sniffed vigorously. There was really a herbal smell that was unique to Shiyu. The Tiger Beastkin suddenly felt embarrassed, looked nervously and guiltily at Zheng Shouyue and the others, and said in a rumbling voice, "Sorry, it turns out that you are the friends of Miracle Healer Shi. Sorry for bothering you. We are just here to hunt down some enemies who invaded the magical beast forest. Just make yourself at home. Zheng Shouyue and the others were dumbfounded all of a sudden. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, but they couldn't react to it for a long time. What's the situation? The beastkins who were so vicious just now suddenly apologized to us? Moreover, just a few hours ago, didn't they deploy the confinement space, magical beast and corpse puppet poison on us? Why do these beastkins become so friendly in the blink of an eye? What happened? Deputy Dean Jiang took a step forward and looked at the tiger beastkin cautiously and nervously. May I ask who is miracle healer she you are talking about? The tiger beastkin was about to say something, but the chubby young man behind him covered his mouth and dragged him away. The beastkins came fast and went fast. Only the people of the Miracle Healer Academy were left standing there in a daze. They were at loss. In fact, everyone had a question in their minds. Is the miracle healer she that the tiger beastkin is talking about? Shiyu? Just when everyone was wondering, the guard against the Doctors Association, Lu Jishi and others were naturally relaxed. Suddenly, a gust of wind mixed with fallen leaves and dust swept in. Deputy Dean Jiang and others were caught off guard and had no time to cast the protective shield cover, and their eyes were instantly blinded by the wind and sand. The students were staggered by the strong wind. They had to support each other so as not to be blown away. After the elders of Miracle Healer Academy cast the protective shield and dispersed the wind and sand, everyone looked around. Their expressions immediately became extremely ugly. The elders of the Doctors Association who were originally bound, as well as Lu Jishi, disappeared without a trace. Someone must have rescued them. Zheng Shouyue gritted his teeth and said angrily, maybe it's the people of the Doctors Association. Deputy Dean Jiang sneered and said, Doctors Association, Lu Shuyang. We will definitely settle the scores with them when we return. The elders of the Doctors Association were bound all over, and their spiritual power could not be used. When they felt the dust and wind coming, they were involuntarily blown to this side and could only keep calling for help. However, when they opened their eyes, they saw something unexpected. This was a rare hill in the magical beast forest. A man in a long robe stood on the top of the hill. The bloody sunset shone on his slightly pale face. His usually refined and elegant face now looked blurry. Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1455. Swear allegiance to the death? But the elders of the Doctors Association and the students of the Pioneer Branch recognized this man at a glance. President. The elders of the Doctors Association straightened up in joy. Even though the natural silk on their bodies had not been untied, they still wanted to kneel down excitedly. It turned out that the wind just now was caused by the president. It was to save them. The president's great kindness and virtue, we will never forget it. If president has any order, we will execute it without hesitation. Even the people of the Pioneer Branch thanked Lu Shuyang happily, looking at him with reverence. This was the president of the Doctors Association, the legendary figure known as the first person among doctors. How lucky they were to be saved by someone like that. The only person in the audience who was still unconscious was Lu Jishi. Lu Shuyang's expression was gentle. His pale face looked weak and thin under the setting sun, but no one noticed that his eyes were flickering with dim light. He walked slowly in front of one of the elders of the Doctors Association, knelt down, and made a gesture to help him up, but he said gently, "Are you really willing to do anything for me?" Of course, we will never forget the president's saving grace. It was the first time for this elder to be treated so kindly by the president. His body trembled with excitement. Lu Shuyang smirked with a hint of greedy light in his eyes, and he said slowly, "Since you have such awareness, that's great." Before he finished speaking, The elder of the Doctors' Association suddenly widened his eyes and showed a terrified expression. It wasn't until this moment that he realized that Lu Shuyang's hand was attached to his dantian. There was a powerful force that was absorbing spiritual power and life force from his dantian. President, he let out a hoarse cry, and his eyes filled with disbelief. He desperately channeled dantian, trying to get back the spiritual power and vitality that had been taken away. However, it was too late. He could clearly feel his skin wrinkled. His flesh and blood were sucked away. His whole body became dry and cold. The last thing the elder saw was that Lu Shuyang stood up with a leisurely smile. His originally pale complexion became a little more rosy. And he himself became a mummy and fell dead to the ground with a thud. For a moment, everyone was stunned. They watched this scene in disbelief, and it took a while before someone screamed, "President Lu, what are you doing?" Lu Shuyang opened his shirt and looked at it. The huge wound that appeared after being attacked by Nangong Yu had indeed healed a lot under the nourishment of vitality. He showed a satisfied smile, glanced at everyone, and said with a faint smile, "Didn't you say that you would swear allegiance to me to the death? Now your chance has come." Lu Shuyang, you? Where did you learn the evil method? Are you not afraid of suffering retribution for taking away the life force of others like this? President, how could you treat us like that? We are all your most loyal subordinates. The gentle smile on Lu Shuyang's face suddenly turned ferocious and fierce. When he raised his hand, one of the elders involuntarily flew into the air and got caught in his hand. "If you want to blame Shiyu. If I'm not injured until the wound can't heal itself, I wouldn't think of using you to nourish my wound and dantian." Find out what happens next by getting early access to chapters. Please do check out the community goals as well. Thanks for the support. Click here to access our Patreon page. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1456, Red Pill, Hehe. But fortunately, the effect is not bad. It is your honor to be able to die for me. As soon as he finished speaking, the elder in his hand turned into a mummy again, and Lu Shuyang threw it on the ground. As Lu Shuyang devoured more and more people, more and more mummies appeared on the ground. The elders of the Doctors' Association and the students of the Pioneer Branch desperately wanted to scream and flee, but the natural silk had sealed their spiritual power, making them completely powerless to resist. In less than 10 minutes, everyone present was devoured by Lu Shuyang. On Lu Shuyang's originally delicate and gentle face, there were creepy dark red patterns around his eyes. He originally gave people the impression of a gentle scholar, but now he looked more like a devil. His body was exuding a dark aura, looking completely different from the original Lu Shuyang. Lu Shuyang walked slowly to Lu Jishi, who was the only one who didn't turn into a mummy. Lu Jishi seemed to be still in a coma, but her trembling body and shoulders betrayed her. Lu Shuyang smiled faintly. "What's the matter, Jishi? Are you not happy to see father, Jishi?" Lu Jishi trembled all over his body, stood up abruptly, threw herself in front of Lu Shuyang, and cried, "Father, I didn't see anything. I really didn't see anything. Please let me live. I will never disobey father." Lu Shuyang looked at the rotten wound on Lu Jishi's face. The ferocious flesh and black rotten flesh mixed together. When he cried, it kept twitching. The look was disgusting. If his daughter had the advantage of being beautiful in the past, now she really had nothing left. Lu Shuyang touched the healed wound on his chest and smiled lightly. "I'm full now, and I really don't need to devour you anymore. However, Lu Shuyang, never raise useless people, even my own daughter." "Father, I won't be useless. Really. I would do anything for you. Also, didn't you say that Shiyu harmed you? No one in the world hates Shiyu more than me. Father, believe in me, I will definitely avenge you." The light in Lu Shuyang's eyes flickered. He spread his palm, and a tiny red pill appeared in his palm. If Jishi is really willing to be obedient, Swallow this thing. Looking at the red pill, Lu Jishi felt an inexplicable panic in her heart. Father, this is voodoo. The beastkin power and spiritual power in Lu Shuyang's body mixed and surged, quickly covering up the terrifying bloody patterns around his eyes. He returned to the gentle and elegant President Lu. As long as you eat it, you can restore your appearance. Otherwise, how can you help father with your current appearance? I will never keep a useless person. Voodoo! Lu Jishi was shocked. Of course, she knew voodoo. It was one of the unique skills of the Master of Thousand Poison Valley from the upper realm. Each type of voodoo had different effects. She had even seen someone who changed from ugly to beautiful after taking the voodoo insect. But Lu Jishi also knew that all those who swallowed the voodoo would not end well. Once the voodoo entered the body, one day it would devour the person in return. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1457. You animal. By that time, she would only die horribly or be absorbed into a mummy. Thinking of the terrible ending after swallowing the voodoo, Lu Jishi trembled with fright. Her body kept moving back. But then she couldn't help touching her face again. There was rot and pus, and it was itchy and painful. Even the corpse puppet poison would break out at any time, turning her into a terrifying monster. Instead of bearing such an ugly face for the rest of my life, I would rather die a miserable life in the future. At least before I die, I must make Shiyu, that bitch, suffer the same pain as mine. Thinking of this, Lu Jishi's eyes blazed with flames, and without thinking about it, he reached out to take the red pill and swallowed it. As soon as the voodoo entered her body, Lu Jishi let out a scream. She felt her chest and abdomen being bitten by thousands of ants. Father, help me, help me. Lu Shuyang looked down at Lu Jishi struggling and howling, but there was no emotion on his face. Instead, there was a leisure smile. After bursts of heart-piercing screams, the voodoo completely took root in Lu Jishi's body. Lu Jishi also recovered her original beautiful appearance. Even her skin was more flimsy than before. Her facial features were more gorgeous and delicate than before. Lu Shuyang smirked with a hint of satisfaction and cold smile in his eyes. Good, then you are qualified to give those people as pets. Jishi, you are the stepping stone for father to knock on the door to a higher power. Don't disappoint father. When Nangong Yu woke up, he saw only darkness. There was a faint thin slit of light coming in from not far away. Nangong Yu sat up slowly while pressing his aching head. As soon as there was a movement, the little golden dragon outside the cave noticed something and immediately shouted anxiously, Boss, how are you? Are you okay? While talking, he lowered the boulder that originally sealed the entrance of the cave. The fresh air in the morning and the dazzling light came in together, allowing Nangong Yu to see the scene in front of him clearly. Seeing this, his breathing almost stopped. He saw a sleeping girl lying in his arms. The girl's black hair was loosened and spread between his legs. Her clothes were messy and torn, revealing her snow-like skin. But on this snow-white skin, there were many traces like red plums. The smooth skin looked even more gorgeous this way. Nangong Yu gasped. He quickly took out the clothes and covered the girl. His sharp eyes swept toward Little Golden Dragon and Li Yu, who flew in, wishing to tear these two guys who peeked at Sheer into pieces. Little Golden Dragon didn't notice Nangong Yu's anger at all. He was also stunned when he saw this scene. Then he thought of something and said angrily, How can you do this to boss? You animal! I will fight to death with you. While yelling, the Little Golden Dragon's figure suddenly became bigger as he rushed toward Nangong Yu fiercely. Nangong Yu just casually waved his hand, and Little Golden Dragon was swept aside. Little Golden Dragon jumped up and didn't notice any injuries on his body. Then he immediately wanted to pounce toward Nangong Yu again. At this moment, Heshi in Nangong Yu's arms frowned and opened her eyes. Sheer! Boss! Miracle Healer Shi! Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1458. Nonsense. 3 exclamations sounded in unison in the cave. They rushed toward Heshi nervously. The few little ones in the void were blocked by Heshi when Nangongyu went mad, so they didn't know what happened outside. Heshi gritted her teeth and opened her eyes. She couldn't help but gasp. She just felt sore all over her body, and the pain on her neck was even more burning. As soon as she opened her eyes, she met Shang Nangongyu's nervous, worried, and guilty eyes. Those dark eyes were full of the reflection of her appearance. Unlike the usual eyes, those eyes seemed to be burning with scorching flames as if they wanted to devour her. Heshi blushed. Nangongyu was straightforward in expressing his emotion, but his eyes had never been so naked like this. "Boss?" The little golden dragon jumped into Heshi's arms and angrily complained to her, "Boss, this bastard bullies you. He has gone too far. You must beat him to death." "Bastard bullying me?" Heshi was startled. She couldn't react to it. Nangongyu suddenly tightened his arms around her and said hoarsely, "Sheer, I will take the responsibility. We will get married when we go back." "Excuse me?" Heshi was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on in this early morning? As Nangongyu spoke, real joy emerged on his face. Even the two-way gloomy eyes shone brightly as if the joy in his heart could no longer be concealed and was about to overflow. "Sheer, don't go back to Miracle Healer Academy anymore. We'll go back to Jinling Kingdom City for the wedding right away." "If you don't want to go back to Jinling Kingdom City, we can go to Miracle Healer City for the wedding ceremony. I want you to become my wife right now. I will announce to the entire Miluo continent that you are the mistress of the King of Hell Mansion." Wait. Heshi quickly interrupted Nangongyu and jumped out of his arms. Feeling the empty coolness under Nangongyu's loose clothes, she blushed. She hurriedly took out clothes from the void and put them on. She bit her lip, suppressed the strange shyness in her heart, and glared at Nangongyu angrily. "What, taking responsible? You don't talk nonsense. Nothing happened to us last night." Little Golden Dragon and Liu looked at her in disbelief. After all, the scene just now was too intriguing. Even Nangongyu took a step forward, hugged her into his arms, stroked her supple cheeks, and said softly, "Sheer, I have proposed to you so many times, and we even did that. You still don't want to marry to me?" Heshi blushed with anger, punched his chest, and said angrily, "Nangongyu, don't talk nonsense. I don't believe you don't remember what happened yesterday." "Nangongyu, of course I know. Even if I'm not fully aware of what happened last night, but whether Sheer and I did, how can I not know? However, such a good opportunity for Sheer to marry him early, how could Nangongyu let it go?" He gently stroked the wound on the side of Heshi's neck, feeling pity and guilt in his heart. "I clearly promised to protect Sheer, but who knew that I would let her suffer this kind of injury for me? But it won't happen in the future. I can feel that the cold poison in his body has been completely suppressed. Although it hasn't been expelled, it won't recur for at least 10 years. From now on, I will protect Sheer and never let her suffer any harm." Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1459. There is still time. Nangongyu lowered his head and kissed her forehead. Heshi blushed even more. She became a little annoyed. Little Golden Dragon and Liu were still watching. But when she turned around, she found that Little Golden Dragon and Liu had disappeared at some point. They either left on their own or Nangongyu chased them away. Nangongyu pressed Heshi's face and said with a smile, "Does Sheer mean that something must happen between us for you to marry me?" "Heshi." Nangongyu put his arm around her slender waist, brought her into his arms, and said in a hoarse voice, "It's okay if Sheer refuses to admit what happened last night and refuses to take responsibility to me. We can do it now. There is still time." "Bastard. This guy is clearly fooling me." Heshi kicked Nangongyu away and turned to leave, but she was pulled back by Nangongyu. His dark eyes stared at her with burning flames. His eyes were full of solemnity and pleading. "Sheer, are you willing to marry?" Seeing the deep eyes, handsome face, and light-colored lips, Heshi felt that her breathing quickened inexplicably. She could hardly hear the voices that were close at hand. However, before Nangong Yu's proposal was finished, Li Yu's voice suddenly came from outside the cave. Miracle Healer Shi, King? Our king wants to ask to see you. Miracle Healer Shi, can you meet him? Hashi snapped back to her senses and woke up from the bewilderment of Nangong Yu's eyes. Her cheeks were hot all of a sudden. She hurriedly pushed Nangong Yu away and said in a loud voice, I'll be there right away. After speaking, she didn't look at Nangong Yu again and escaped from the cave almost in a panic. Nangong Yu's face was ashen. He looked at the entrance with cold eyes, but he still followed sullenly. Hashi followed Li Yu, but strangely, they didn't go in the direction of Toad Jade Palace. The three of them flew for a long time. Li Yu didn't stop until they saw a huge tree emitting silver light from afar. Hashi looked at the trees shining with silver light, and she was dazzled for a moment. She had never seen any tree that could grow so beautifully. The branches and leaves of the tree were like brilliant fireworks. Miracle Healer Shi, this is the treasure of our Beastkin clan, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Li Yu respectfully bowed in the direction of the sacred tree before saying to Hashi, It really is heavenly mulberry sacred tree. Nangong Yu's tone was a little more serious. Hashi also saw the record of heavenly mulberry sacred tree in record of everything. It was said that the heavenly mulberry sacred tree had the ability to protect and pray for the living beings. Within the aura emanated by the sacred tree, the living beings were more likely to gain wisdom and protection. The most surprising thing was the heavenly mulberry holy fruit produced by heavenly mulberry sacred tree. The effect of the heavenly mulberry holy fruit was very simple. That was immortality. No matter how badly injured a person was, even if his heart was broken, his dantian was damaged, or even his internal organs were emptied, as long as there was still a trace of vitality left, he could live after taking the heavenly mulberry holy tree. However, the person would be in a vegetative state forever. Li Yu was about to speak, then Nangong Yu's face changed slightly, and he pulled Hashi to take a quick step back. Immediately afterward, a young man in a red robe with fluttering clothes was descending slowly from midair. Despite Hashi's calmness, she couldn't help being stunned when she saw the young Beastkin king at this time. The young man who was already charming looked even more alluring now. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1460, Dragon Knight. The originally inconspicuous tear mole at the corner of the eye seemed to be a little redder now, projecting a soul-stirring charm under the sunlight. The young man walked forward slowly, suddenly reached out to grab Hashi's hand, slightly raised it above his head, knelt down on one knee, and bowed to her. The deep magnetic voice like dewdrops passing through the clear bamboo leaves, giving a chilling and itching feeling one's mind. Beautiful lady, I will never forget your life-saving grace. No matter what you want me to do, even if you want me to contract of life and death with you, I have no complaints. Hashi's first reaction was that the young man was dressed in red like fire, but his hands were frighteningly cold. The next moment, Nangong Yu had already pulled Hashi back into his arms. Hostel looked at the flirtatious and charming young man, and said coldly, She is my woman. How dare you let Sheer sign the life and death contract with you? I will kill you, believe it or not. The so-called life and death contract is generally a partnership. Don't think I don't know. The young man in red shrugged his shoulders and smiled, glanced at Nangong Yu meaningfully, looked at Hashi with fluctuating eyes, and said, My name is Rani. Beautiful lady, may I call you Shiyu? The corner of Hashi's mouth twitched. She thought to himself, Please, just call me Shiyu. If you call me beautiful lady again, I'm going to get goosebumps. A smile flashed across Ran Yi's eyes. He ignored the murderous intent emanating from Nangong Yu's body and showed a solemn expression of gratitude on his face. Shiyu, we Beastkin clan owes you a great kindness today. No matter what is your request, as long as I can do it, our Beastkin clan will never refuse. Even if you want to sign a spiritual pet contract with me and let me be your mount, I will not refuse. Mount? Dragon Knight? Hashi widened her eyes slightly, but a trace of longing really flashed in her heart. In her previous life, although she didn't have much time to read novels for entertainment, she knew more or less when she was doing missions. Dragon Knight, what a majestic name this is. The smile in Ran Yi's eyes was even bigger, but two guys were completely upset. Nangong Yu straightened Hishi's face and said threateningly, "Sheer, I don't allow this guy to be your contracted dragon, let alone ride on him. If you dare to sign a spiritual pet contract with him, I will kill him now." The little golden dragon, who had already returned to the void, also jumped out angrily. He was stomping in the air furiously. "Who said that the boss is going to sign a contract with you? If boss wants a dragon mount, she can sit on me. I will soon become a real golden dragon." "Boss, you are not allowed to sign a spiritual pet contract with an annoying and coquettish guy, absolutely not." Heshi grabbed Nangong Yu's hand from her face and said with a smile, "He is the majestic Beastkin King, a divine beast that has been promoted to rank 12. Do you think he will really become my mount? Can you two calm down?" Ran Yi's eyes flickered. A deep and magnetic voice sounded with a hint of a smile. "Shiyu, it hurts my heart too much for you to say that. I'm really willing to be your spiritual pet." Heshi didn't show the slightest touch, but she half smiled and looked at him. "The premise is that I can help you cure the disease of heavenly mulberry sacred tree, right?" The smile on Ran Yi's face froze. Li Yu couldn't help exclaiming, "Miracle healer Shi, how do you know?" "Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons." Chapter 1461. Condition. Heshi was smiling without speaking. She was just playing with Nangong Yu's hand while looking at Ran Yi casually. It wasn't until Ran Yi, the Beastkin King, was slightly sweating on his forehead that Heshi said calmly, "I'm a doctor. Although I don't know much about the symptoms of the spiritual plant, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree is no longer considered a simple tree, but an intelligent creature. Whether the spiritual power and breath fluctuation of each intelligent creature is disordered or sick, I can more or less tell the difference." Ran Yi stared at Heshi in a daze for a long while, then he let out a breath and said, "Miracle healer, she is really capable." He suddenly bent down and bowed deeply to Heshi. His tone was sincere, and the enchanting smile just now was no longer on his face. "Miracle healer Shi, heavenly mulberry sacred tree is as important and precious to our Beastkin clan just like a mother. If the heavenly mulberry sacred tree dies, it means that the Beastkin of in the magical beast forest will also perish. I only hope that Miracle healer Shi can save the sacred tree and our Beastkin clan. Your great kindness, we will never forget it for the rest of our lives." Heshi folded her hands on his chest and said with a leisurely smile, "I remember, you Beastkin King still owes me a life-saving favor, right? Now you owe me another favor of saving your mother. Are you sure you can pay them back?" Ran stood up suddenly. The pair of peach eyes were sparkling, looking charming and also persistent. "Even if Miracle healer Shi asks me to devote my life and marry you, I will never refuse." Nangong Yu drew out his long sword and said with a sneer, "Why don't I let you pay for it with your life?" Ran Yi glanced at Nangong Yu with a dimmed glance. "Soul-splitting stage. You haven't been mixed with any upper realm breath, and you haven't gone through the tribulation. I admit that your cultivation strength is really good. I'm really not your opponent before I have gone through the tribulation, but now? I'm afraid it will not be so easy for you to kill me." Nangong Yu's eyes were cold and his lips curved slightly. "Try it, then you'll know." Heshi quickly grabbed Nangong Yu's sword-holding hand and made a pause gesture to Ran Yi. "Beastkin King, I don't need you to devote your life to me. I hope you can help me save a Beastkin." "Beastkin?" Heshi didn't wait for Ran Yi to ask again, and she waved and released Wu Qi, who was sleeping in the void. Xiao Li came out together with Wu Qi. "Ah!" Li Yu couldn't help exclaiming when she saw Wu Qi. "King, he's the brother of the wolf clan." A trace of surprise flashed across Ran Yi's eyes. He didn't know this little wolf beastkin, but he had a familiar beastkin heritage aura that belonged to their magical beast forest lineage. Moreover, this little wolf beastkin's talent was very good, but now it had been hollowed out by people. He was almost relying on something to stay alive, otherwise he would have died already. When Ran Yi's eyes fell on Shaoli, his astonishment turned into shock in an instant. The nine-tailed silver fox. She also belongs to our magical beast forest lineage, but she is actually the nine-tailed silver fox that is rarer and nobler than me, the pterosaur? Where did these two little guys come from? They obviously belong to our lineage, but why have I never seen them before? Heshi pointed at Wu Qi and said, "If you can cure him, I will consider you repaying the grace of saving your life." Ranni looked at Heshi with complicated eyes and said a hoarse voice, "Shiyu, they are beastkins, why are you being so nice to them? Even if you don't let me save this little wolf beastkin, I can't watch my people die." Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1462. Terminate the contract. Heshi frowned and said naturally, "They recognize me as their master, believe me, follow me, and treat me as a relative and friend, so I of course give them shelter. There is no why. Does it matter whether they are human or beastkin?" Ran Yi was stunned for a while, then he murmured after a while, "Yes, it really doesn't matter." He suddenly smiled and said slowly, "Okay, Shiyu, I promise to save him. And because of you, I will cancel the revenge action against human beings. Even if I really want revenge, I will find the real mastermind and will not involve innocent people." Heshi glanced at Wu Qi. "Can you cure Wu Qi?" Ran Yi smiled faintly. He spread out his slender and fair hand, and a few green beads appeared in his palm. Heshi was startled. Would Vitality Pearl? "Originally, I didn't necessarily have a solution," Ranni said, "but there are quite a few wood vitality pearls in the storage bags left behind by the people from the upper realm. Although they may not necessarily be extracted from the body of this little wolf beastkin, but with my current ability, there is still a way to purify the inherited bloodline in the wood vitality pearl and reintegrate it into the little wolf beastkin. Perhaps after waking up, the little wolf beastkin's talent will decline and his cultivation will drop a lot, but at least he can survive." As soon as Shaoli heard that Wu Qi could survive, tears welled up in her eyes. She knelt down to Ran Yi. "It's enough as long as it keeps my brother alive." "Brother Blue Dragon, thank you, Wu, thank you." Ran Yi was stunned slightly. "I have been the Beastkin King for decades, and this is the first time someone calls me Brother Blue Dragon. This little girl is only at rank 5, can she see through my original form?" He took a breath before smiling and said, "Little girl, if you want to thank your master Shiyu." Before Ran Yi finished speaking, Shaoli threw herself into Heshi's arms, weeping with joy while hugging her waist. Rescuing Wu Qi was not in a hurry. Ran Yi asked Liu to find someone to take Wu Qi to the bottom of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, where there was abundant vitality. It could make Wu Qi recover better. Ran Yi looked at Shiyu and pleaded more solemnly, "Miracle healer Shi, the heavenly mulberry sacred tree has reached the period when it bears holy fruits once in 1,000 years. As long as you are willing to cure the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, we beastkin would like to offer half of the holy fruits to you." Heavenly mulberry holy fruit was rare. Its value was unmeasurable by crystal stone even in Siam continent. It was not a small gain to get half of the holy fruits. Heshi smiled and said, "I can help you cure heavenly mulberry sacred tree, but I still have 2 conditions." Ran Yi hurriedly said in joy, "Please tell." "First, during my treatment, except for Nangong Yu, no other beastkin or people can come near me." Ran Yi was taken aback. Suddenly, he remembered the powerful vitality he felt when he was promoted. Something flashed in his mind. He nodded in agreement immediately without thinking too much about it. "Secondly, I hope that after I revive Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree, you can terminate the life and death contract between me and Shaoli." As soon as Heshi said this, Shaoli straightened up from her arms, looked at Heshi with red eyes in disbelief, and said in a hoarse voice, "Miss, why? You don't want Shaoli?" A blue light flashed in Ran Yi's eyes. He glanced at Heshi and Shaoli, and he was slightly shocked. You actually signed a life and death contract with this little fox beastkin? Great news. We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1463, Xiao Li's tears. Many humans would sign a contract with Beastkin, but almost no one would sign a life and death contract, usually a master-servant contract. How many human beings would be willing to live and die together with a beast? Xiao Li didn't seem to hear Ran Yi's words, but she just grabbed Heshi's sleeve and said with a panicked face, "Miss, you were just joking, right? You won't abandon Xiao Li, right?" Heshi reached out and touched Xiao Li's head, and she said softly, "Xiao Li, I believe you can feel it too. You can't get any greater improvement by following me, whether you are in the sealed dragon domain or by my side. But this magical beast forest has a great fit with your beastkin power. As long as the heavenly mulberry sacred tree is cured, you will definitely be able to get a good improvement if you stay here. In other words, as long as you stay here, you and Wu Qi can only improve." Of course, Xiao Li has long felt the kindness and attachment to this magical beast forest. Even when she saw heavenly mulberry sacred tree, she felt like returning to her mother's arms and she was reluctant to leave. But so what? No matter how kind the magical beast forest is to me, it can't compare to Miss who saved me and cared for me. Xiao Li held Heshi's hand and said in a sobbing tone, "Miss, I don't want to become stronger, I just want to stay by your side. Don't drive me away, okay?" Heshi glanced at Wu Qi and said, "Even if you can bear it and stay strong, but after your brother wakes up this time, his body will become very weak. Only by staying in the magical beast forest can he heal his injuries better. He has no ability to protect himself now. Are you willing to leave him alone?" Xiao Li took a look at Wu Qi, who was still in a coma, and she immediately burst into tears. She couldn't bear to leave Miss, and she also couldn't bear to leave brother. "Silly girl." Heshi hugged her into his arms. She couldn't help but whisper, "The magical beast forest is not far away in another world. Even if you and Wu Qi stay here, I can still come to see you. When you two are strong enough, you can also come to me. We will always have a chance to meet again." Xiao Li raised her tear-filled face, grabbed Heshi's sleeve, and said with an aggrieved face, "But why does Miss want to terminate the contract with me? It's like Miss doesn't want me anymore." Heshi smiled and glanced at Ran Yi. After sensing Ran Yi's meaningful gaze, she smiled and rubbed Xiao Li's head. "The life and death contract was originally just to save you, so I had no choice. But now that we are going to separate, if the life and death contract is kept, it will become shackles instead. If one day I'm seriously injured and you are at the moment of breakthrough, your vitality will be passed on to me, and your breakthrough will fail at that time. In turn, Xiao Li, you also don't want that when I'm at a critical moment, I'm dead because my vitality automatically flows to you, right? No. Xiao Li doesn't want Miss to die." Xiao Li hugged Heshi nervously, feeling extremely aggrieved in her heart, but she still sobbed. "Xiao Li is willing to terminate the contract with Miss, but Miss, don't forget Xiao Li. You must come and visit Xiao Li in the future." Heshi also felt sour in her mind. She even wanted to throw the little girl into the void and never let her out again. But in the end, she endured it, patted Xiao Li on the head, and asked her to accompany Wu Qi to the heavenly mulberry sacred tree first. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1464, Grateful, why don't you tell her that you want to terminate the contract with her so that she can better inherit her beastkin bloodline? Maybe even become the king of this magical beast forest one day? Heshi turned her head to meet Ran Yi's deep eyes, and she said with a faint smile, "It doesn't matter. As long as I know that she is doing well, that's enough." Since breaking through and activating the wood source, Heshi had a feeling of spiritual connection with this magical beast forest. Therefore, as soon as Xiao Li appeared in the magical beast forest, she felt that Xiao Li belonged to this forest. Moreover, Xiao Li's inherited bloodline was extremely noble, so noble that she would one day stand at the top of this forest, so noble that she was destined to be a king by birth. However, if Shaoli still signed a life and death contract with her, regardless of whether He would bring the crisis to her, not all beastkins in the magical beast forest would agree to a human spiritual pet to become their king. When she signed the contract with Shaoli, she just wanted her to live a good life. She never treated Shaoli, Little Egg and the rest as spiritual pets. Ran-E clenched his fist and put it on his heart and bowed slightly toward Heshi. His movements were graceful and elegant like flowing clouds and flowing water, but his expression was very solemn. Shiyu, please let me express my gratitude to you again. Afterward, he raised his head and said with dignified and serious eyes, "This time, for real, do you want me to be your mount? Even without a contract, I'm willing to serve you for 100 years. What responded to him was Nangong Yu, who swept his long sword across the air, and Heshi's helpless smile. Heshi stood under the heavenly mulberry sacred tree. There was no beastkin beside her. Only Nangong Yu was by her side. But Heshi didn't try to heal the sacred tree, but she looked at the handsome young man not far away who was emitting green light from his body. Heshi looked at the young man with eyes full of doting and pity, just like looking at the most important relative in the world. Nangong Yu looked down and saw her eyes looking at the young man, and jealousy surged in his heart. In Shier's heart, the most important thing was definitely this younger brother, even he had to stand back. This made him even more determined to marry Shier immediately when they got home. Nangong Yu narrowed his eyes. He decided to start preparing for the wedding as soon as he returned to Jinling Kingdom City. But before that, he had to inform those people of his decision to marry Shier immediately. No one could influence his decision. After a long time, Shaoqi, who was sitting in front of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree, finally opened his eyes slowly. He blinked his long eyelashes, moved his hands and feet again, and felt indescribably comfortable all over. The heavenly mulberry sacred tree above also swayed. The branches and leaves made a rustling sound. The five-color luster of the leaves flowed as if expressing their own comfort and gratitude. Shaoqi didn't understand why he was so comfortable. He only knew that his sister told him to channel the circle of life under the tree and inject green spiritual power into the tree, and he did it. Shaoqi quickly ran to Heshi's side, rubbing against Heshi's neck like a cute pet, and then obediently lay down on her lap. "Sister, it's done." Facing the young man's clear, crystal-like purple eyes, Heshi's eyes unconsciously showed a gentle and doting smile. She gently stroked the young man's soft hair. "Shaoqi did a great job and helped sister a lot." "Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons." Chapter 1465. Prophecy. Shaoqi immediately frowned happily. His clear eyes were like amethyst reflecting the light of the sun. He rubbed Heshi's hand on his face and murmured coquettishly, "Sister likes it? Shaoqi is so happy." Heshi smiled and said, "Shaoqi will also practice the technique that sister taught you every day without interruption, understand?" Shaoqi nodded obediently. Every time Shaoqi channeled the circle of life, he also felt comfortable all over. Originally, he couldn't cultivate, and he couldn't help his sister, but since he practiced this technique, he felt that he became more powerful and smart. Shaoqi didn't care if he was powerful or not. As long as he could help his sister, he would be very happy. After sending Shaoqi into the void, Heshi prepared to leave with Nangong Yu and told Beastkin King that her mission had been completed. As they had just taken a step, Heshi suddenly heard an old voice. "Would Source, please wait a moment." Heshi stopped and looked back, but she didn't see anyone talking. Nangong Yu asked, "What's wrong? Did you hear anything?" "Would Source, humans can't hear my voice, and neither can ordinary beastkin. Only you, I can talk to you." Heshi suddenly looked at heavenly mulberry sacred tree and said in disbelief, "It's you talking to me? A tree can actually talk." "It's me." The heavenly mulberry sacred tree shook its branches and leaves, and the old voice sounded again, "Can I speak to you alone?" After a pause, heavenly mulberry sacred tree added, "It's just that you and I. The man next to you and your spiritual pets can't listen." Heshi frowned. She somehow felt that there was urgency and worry in Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree's voice, as if it wanted to tell her something important. After hesitating for a moment, she let Nangong Yu leave first. The little ones in the void were also released and let Nangong Yu take them away. Although Nangong Yu was full of doubts, he couldn't feel any danger around, so he didn't disobey Heshi's decision in the end. After Nangong Yu and the others left, the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree shook its branches and said urgently, "I can sense that a dangerous aura is approaching you. It is a greedy person who wants to snatch your wood source. You must be careful." Heshi frowned. She thought of Lu Shuyang who had escaped. Lu Shuyang said at the beginning that the wood source was on her body. Although he hadn't confirmed it and the wood's spiritual root had not been detected on her, it was obvious that the person was not dead. He was a huge hidden danger to her. Heshi looked up at Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. "Is this your prophecy ability?" "Yes." The old voice was a little tired, but it was also grateful. "Our Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree clan has the ability to protect, pray, purify, and prophecy. It's just that I'm too weak. I was infected before I became adult, so I can't grow into the real Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. Without you today, the wood source, in a few years, I will be completely infested with filth and wither. So in order to thank you, I tried the ability of prophecy. But the result is chaos. Wood source, I can't see your future. I only know that it is very dangerous." Heshi let out a breath slowly. "I know. I will be careful in the future. Sacred Tree, thank you." The Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree shook violently, then the fruits on it fell down. "Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. Chapter 1466. Your mission. Before the fruits landed on the ground, they jumped onto Heshi's body spontaneously. They even went into her void right away. These Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits are important to Beastkin, but they are not necessary. I will give them to you, hoping to help you escape the catastrophe." Heshi looked up at the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree and saw that there were only 3 Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits left on the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. She was dumbfounded. Ran-E originally promised to give her half of the Heavenly Mulberry holy fruits, but now, the Sacred Tree gave her 90% of it. If Ran-E found out, he won't be mad, right? However, she would not refuse the kindness of the Sacred Tree. She solemnly thanked the Sacred Tree. Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree said again, "Wood source, if you don't mind, you can take a piece of my branch. Because the wood source in your body, as long as you keep it by your side and plant it well, one day it may become a real Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree." Heshi was taken aback. "Break your branch? Wouldn't you be weak then? Why would you help me to such extent?" Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree gently shook the branches, and a broken branch fell into Heshi's hand. The branch and leaves were still emitting silver light, which dazzled Heshi's eyes. But Heshi had an illusion that this branch and leaves seemed to be very happy after it was in her hand. Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree's voice became weaker, but it was very happy. "Wood source is the source of power for all creatures in the world, especially plants, birds, and animals. Only when the wood source survives well, can the grass and trees flourish. The wood source that is taken away is just a tool, a cluster of energy that is used. It cannot make everything grow. It can only destroy all natural creatures. So, you must protect the wood source. That is your mission. It is also the prayer of all creatures in the world." Until Heshi regrouped with the people of the Miracle Healer Academy, she was still thinking about the words of Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree in her mind. The branch of the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree had been planted in the ancient rhyme spiritual field. Little Egg, Little Golden Dragon, and Little Red Bird went crazy with joy when they saw Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. Seeing Heshi's puzzled face, Little Red Bird even despised her with disgust. In Little Egg's words, it was, "That is the Heavenly Mulberry Sacred Tree. If you live with the Sacred Tree, you will get good luck and blessings. Especially the Beastkin, its strength will improve by leap and bound." Even Little Dumb Cow, who was usually dull and silly, liked to get close to the Sacred Tree. The spiritual herbs in the ancient rhyme spiritual field, which were already growing well, were happily swaying branches, leaves and flowers. Even the man-eating bees finally started to build a nest on the golden Bodhi tree. Before that, the man-eating bees didn't regard the void as their own territory. Apart from collecting honey, they kept trying to find a way to return to their nest every day. Heshi was also speechless. She didn't expect that the branch of the heavenly mulberry sacred tree would have this effect. She just didn't know if those holy fruits were really so miraculous. Heshi didn't ask Shaoli to see her off. She just told Ran Yi to take good care of the little fox. The people of the Huang medical branch were naturally overjoyed to see Heshi safe and sound. Zheng Shuyue even stroked his beard and smiled delightedly. As for Deputy Dean Jiang, they felt a little complicated to see Shiyu. This was 17-year-old young man was once kicked out of Heaven Medical Branch by them and insulted and rejected by many students, but in just a few months, he shook and changed the entire Miracle Healer Academy. Great news! We're thrilled to announce a special 7-day trial exclusively on Patreons. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.